Would you believe me if I said that Khora got a major buff in this patch? Probably not, right? That was honestly what I was thinking when I made my Khora Perfected video a couple of months ago, because Whipclaw becoming an actual exalted weapon was about as big of a change as I think Khora would ever get. But when I was reading through the patch notes the other day, I came across this. Yeah, so very randomly, DE was like, we're going to give all of these abilities the ability to be affected by casting speed. And I think some people either just completely missed this change or they don't know how big it is. Because guys, Whipclaw now being affected by casting speed is ridiculous, leading to clips looking like this. And now I know from my community posts, some people are going to say it's really not that big a deal, but let me explain to you why it actually is. I want you to imagine what Warframe would look like if DE just had never added any fire rate mods into the game, and the rate at which guns fired was completely fixed and could not be adjusted. And just shoot at this person. Now, obviously, I need to build stacks and do a whole bunch of other things for my gun to, just become better, but like already it is shredding so much more, and this would be about as good as this gun could get. Now, if DE adds fire rate mods in the Valis Undermine or something, we throw on Vile Acceleration, plus 90% fire rate, doubled on bows, minus 50% damage, whatever. And if for whatever reason that demonstration didn't really convince you, we use fire rate on all of our guns, so obviously it is a very important stats to making weapons better. What might be a closer example though is Baruch. Baruch has had his best helmet ability be Warcry for a very long time now. And that's because Baruch's damage has been, for a very long time, overwhelmingly powerful. I mean, Reactive Storm was making him Excalibur, except he had ridiculous range. This is obviously pre-Excalibur getting, arcanes. But his damage and his survivability was just insane. So the only way to actually make him kill quicker or do more is to give him more attack speed, because that is the fire rate of melee weapons. Now, obviously, even before they converted these into true Exalteds, casting speed did not work on this or Shadowed Lash. I believe that also got changed for whatever reason, I don't remember. But it didn't work, which most of us just lived with, because we'd never had it before. So with this in mind, the Archon Shard setup on Khora has changed slightly. We went from all Tau purples before, excuse me only having 2, I just substituted it with a red. Now we actually should just go for 3 of the purples and 2 of the casting speed. And then the build on Khora has actually stayed exactly the same. If you want a full in-depth explanation on why to use this build, go watch the Khora video linked in the pin right now at the top. It is one of my better made videos. I promise I'm going to drop my best video in, I don't want to give a release date, but yeah, it's been a minute since I've dropped something edited. Regardless, the build here is the exact same. We survived through easy shield gating with Brief Respite, catalyzing Augur Reach, Lighthouse Hunt also giving us a bunch of health orbs, which we convert into infinite energy for equilibrium, Prime Flow giving us enough of a max so that we can use the Tau purples at double their benefit, accumulating Whipclaw for base damage, continuity for duration on Lycast, though you can extend it, I just don't very often because you don't really need to, and then Blind Rage for strength. Obviously efficiency at 45% isn't really much of a problem. The Whipclaw Prime build is actually going to look really weird, and that is because this is a build that doesn't run maximum damage, but instead runs maximum range. Now, why would we want to do that? Ever since Melee Influence got added to Whipclaw, it has now gained the ability to be quadratically scaling, which means that because of how Melee Influence works, if you trigger 1 electricity on every enemy, that is going to send that 1 procs damage around the entire group 20 times if we were doing this in the Simulacrum. So calculate whatever the damage that would be. Now, if you add a 21st enemy to that mix, obviously the total damage is going to get higher. So the more enemies that you hit with Whipclaw while you have Influence active, the more damage that you get. But an important note is that Influence does not trigger if you one-tap the enemy, and Khora's Whipclaw has extremely high damage. So typically with a full damage build that uses things like Pressure Point and more critical damage, you one-tap the enemy, and that doesn't allow Melee Influence to do its thing. So instead of running maximum damage, we run maximum range, because range, like casting speed, is one of the best things we can add to Whipclaw. And I'm actually doing this a little bit differently than my previous video, because I'm using Modus Impact, which adds 2 meters of range to your melee attacks if you are in the air, which is something that no one using an actual melee would do. But you are jumping around a lot as a, Slayer Khora, so this actually will see some use. Pair that with spring-loaded blade, which gives us another 2 meters, and primed reach for 3 meters. This is 7 meters of range, totaling out to 15 on Whipclaw, and that is honestly ridiculous because you need to remember that melee influence is going to be spreading electricity within 20 meters, which means that the true range of Whipclaw is 35 meters. If you want an explanation of that with the visuals and with the math, go watch my Khora video. If you, for whatever reason, want to run a little bit more damage, you can drop Modus Impact for Galvanized Steel, but you don't really need to. Watch the gameplay. You one-tap everything anyways. Here is the build on Venari. Pretty simple. And here is the build for Venari's Claws. Companion-wise, I just recommend you use a Nautilus to pull enemies closer into you. Use the Whipclaw for the critical chance bonus on critical damage bonus on Tenacious Bond. And the rest of this stuff doesn't really matter. Just make sure you have Cordon and Manifold. Just to give you guys a quick Simulacrum demonstration of what this build can do, we're going to bring in some Corrupted Heavy Gunner Eximus units. Just start whipping away. Yeah. I mean, if you thought that was crazy, now just look what happens. We're not even at maximum combo yet, by the way. So, let me get my attack speed up. Or, sorry, my casting speed up. Because casting speed is literally attack speed for Whipclaw. Like, I could only Whipclaw them once and kill them. But I can do it so quickly that I can actually Whipclaw again before the electric dot will kill everyone. I lied. It kills them all immediately. That's how much damage is being dealt here. Yeah, if you thought that this build would, suffer on damage because we're not running all damage mods, if this doesn't just disprove that, I don't know what will. That's it for me. Enjoy the gameplay. See you later. Peace.